You thought you were making a friend, but they were conducting a selection audit. They aren't looking for a connection. They are scanning for a specific type of logic, the kind that prioritizes their comfort over your own survival. A coworker asks, "How do you handle stress?" You think it is shop talk. Maybe you even enjoy the question. It feels like someone taking an interest. But in the false interview, that question can be a compliance probe. They are checking whether you are the kind of high-output person who keeps saying yes, even when the workload stops making sense. There are 5 social moves that should make you pause. One of them sounds like a compliment. Here is how to jam the signal. The first one is the compliance probe, and you have probably seen this one more times than you realize. Someone asks you for a small favor. Nothing dramatic, just small enough that saying no feels awkward. Can you cover this for me real quick? Can you just take a look at this before you leave? It will only take a second. You hear a minor inconvenience. Maybe you even think, it is fine, it is not worth the friction. But what they are actually measuring is how fast you give access when politeness is in the room. Here is the tell. A normal request comes with context. It acknowledges your time. It leaves room for a no. The compliance probe does not do that. It arrives assuming your yes. It frames your hesitation as the problem. And if you say yes when the request does not actually make sense, you have just handed them something useful. They now know you are a high compliance asset, that you will prioritize the room's comfort over your own judgment. Not every question is a scan, but every predator starts with a question. The difference is pressure, asymmetry, and extraction. Pressure means the request does not leave room for a no. Asymmetry means one person is collecting while the other is giving. Extraction means the goal was never the conversation. It was the data inside it. One question alone proves nothing. What you are looking for is all 3 showing up together. When they do, you are not in a conversation anymore. You are in an audit. The jam is simple. That doesn't work for my schedule, but good luck with it. No apology attached. No explanation trailing behind it. You answered. You moved on. The probe got nothing because you did not treat politeness as a debt you owed them. The second move is the status check. This one can be easy to miss because it sometimes arrives dressed as a compliment. Must be nice to have that kind of disposable income. You're so lucky. I wish I had it so easy. Not everyone gets handed opportunities like that. You hear mild envy, maybe you feel slightly uncomfortable, and that discomfort is exactly the point. What they are actually measuring is your status ceiling, specifically whether social pressure can make you lower it. This is not a conversation about jealousy. It is about what you do in the 3 seconds after that comment lands. Because the pressure is not in the words. The pressure is in what follows. The expectation that you will shrink, that you will say, "Oh, it's really not that big a deal," that you will minimize your own progress to make the room comfortable again. And if you do that, they have learned something precise. That discomfort can move you, that you will reduce yourself on cue. That is the payload, not your answer, your instinct to apologize for your own progress. The jam does not fight the comment, it does not explain anything. I'm really enjoying it. Thanks for noticing. No defense, no minimizing. You accepted the observation and closed the loop. There is nothing left to extract. The third move is the boundary snap. You have probably felt this one in your chest before your brain had words for it. Are you still doing that? I heard you stopped. I thought you gave that up. Didn't that not work out for you? On the surface, it sounds like someone checking in, maybe even someone who cares. But what they are actually measuring is whether you will over-explain your life choices to someone who has not earned access to them. Up until now, we have looked at what they ask. Now, we have to look at the one thing they wait for you to say. They are not only scanning your answer, they are scanning your need to be understood. Because this is where most people give the most away. The boundary snap is designed to make you feel like your decision is on trial, and if you launch into the full account, why you made the choice, what changed, what you learned, what you are doing differently now, you have just shown them something they can use. You need to be understood. even by people who have not earned that access. That need is leverage. Once they know it is there, they know how to activate it. Create enough confusion about your choices and you will explain yourself into a corner every single time. The jam removes the trial entirely. I made the decision that made the most sense. That sentence is complete. It does not open a door for cross-examination. It does not signal that your reasoning is up for review. You answered. The perimeter held. The fourth move is the history mine. And this is the one that can feel the most like genuine connection, which is exactly what makes it the most dangerous. What's the hardest thing you've ever gone through? You seem like you've been through a lot. What happened? I feel like there's a story there. Shh, tell me. Maybe you have been in a conversation where someone asked you something like this and it felt like finally being seen, like someone was actually paying attention. And sometimes that is real. This is where the nuance matters most, so stay with it. Real connection involves mutual risk. When someone asks you to go deep, they go deep too. They offer something real in return. Both people become a little more exposed. That is how trust actually gets built, through reciprocal vulnerability, not unilateral extraction. The false interview looks different. They ask, you give, they collect. You walk away feeling like you connected. They walk away with your reset button. They now know where your pain lives, what makes you doubt yourself, what history you are still carrying. And in the wrong hands, your story does not stay neutral. It becomes a map of exactly where to apply pressure when they need you to comply. This is not about never sharing. It is about reading the asymmetry. If you are the only one going deep, you are not in a conversation. You are in an extraction. The jam redirects without shutting the door on real connection. That's a long story for another time. What about you? You have not closed yourself off. You have introduced reciprocity. If they are genuinely interested in you, they will answer. If they were running an audit, that question will land differently. Watch which one happens. The fifth move is the authority test, and you have probably run into this one in a meeting, a family conversation, or a group where the decision was already made before you arrived. Everyone else seems fine with this. Why are you the only one struggling? Most people don't agree with you on that. Why do you think that is? The whole team is on board. I'm not sure why you're making this harder than it needs to be. You hear social feedback. Maybe you even start to wonder if you are the problem. But what they are actually measuring is whether a head count can override your own read of the situation. In an audit, consensus is used as a weapon to make you doubt your own eyes. The authority test does not use real data. It uses the suggestion of data. Everyone and most people are not evidence. They are pressure. And if that pressure is enough to make you abandon your own judgment, they have learned something they will use again. They have learned how much social cost it takes before you fold. The jam does not argue with the crowd. It does not try to prove the crowd wrong. I can only speak for my own results. My perspective remains the same. You are not being difficult. You are being accurate. Your judgment is based on your direct experience. That is not something a head count can override. Now here is what connects all 5 of these. They are not random. They are sequential. Each one is probing a different part of your default response pattern. Each one is looking for a different kind of leverage. And if you comply across all 5, if you explain, minimize, overshare, justify, and defer, you have not just answered 5 questions. You have handed them a complete profile, a marked target, a documented perimeter, a known reset button, a measurable status ceiling, a pattern they can now predict and use. But here is what changes everything. You can scan the scanner. The next time someone runs one of these moves, introduce a small reverse trade. Ask for something minor in return, not as a performance, just as a natural part of the exchange. I can take a look at that. Can you cover something for me next week? That's a big question. What's your answer to it? Then watch what happens. A person who sees you as a human will engage. They will think about it. They will meet you there. A person who was running an audit will show you something else. A flicker of irritation. A subtle recalibration. Because mutuality was never part of their model. In their model, You are the resource. And resources do not make requests. Resources comply. The moment you introduce reciprocity, you are no longer readable. And an unreadable target is not a useful target. They were not getting to know you, they were running a selection audit, and the audit only works if you never see it coming. The scan is how they decide you are a target. But once they have marked you, they move to the first test. That is the next video on screen. Watch it before the pattern gets further along than it already is. And before you go, tell me the one question that felt like a scan.